Hello, world, and welcome to another episode of the Geeks From the Trap podcast. I'm your host, Colin Mel, and today we're going to be talking about the movie Antebellum, and I guess the era we are in right now for of woke films, I should say. You know, one of the last episodes we did of Geeks From the Trap podcast, we were discussing the series of Lovecraft Country, the new HBO series, and I didn't come back and do any more episodes about reviewing the rest of the series because if you guys know me, if you listen to my content or you read my blogs and stuff like that, I love to be entertained. I love to escapism, and when it comes to racism, it's hard to escape whatever property I'm watching because racism is just all too real for us. You know what I mean? And, Lovecraft Country is, as much as it's, heavy on the weird horror fantasy, it's heavy on the racism. Like, you can't get to the fantasy horror stuff without going through the racism first. Like, there's racist ghosts in the series and all that stuff. It's just, it's like, sometimes it's hard to enjoy it because there's just so much of the heaviness of racism on top of it. So just like when you're trying to just even breathe through that part, then they throw the horror and fantasy elements to it. It's like, oh gosh, come on, man. Like, give me a second. So I literally take breaks in between watching Lovecraft Country where I'm just like, okay, hold on, I gotta breathe. Okay, press play. You know what I mean? Like, sometimes I'll even stop for the whole night and watch the rest of it the next day because I'm like, okay, I'm not ready for this yet. I'm not ready. So. And I'm noticing ever since Get Out, we've been seeing a lot of woke productions, quote unquote. And, I feel like I am as woke as the next man or woman, but there's just some stuff that's just like, okay, this is just, it's taking its toll. I still got PTSD from Queen and Slim. Like, I still have not gotten over how Queen and Slim has ended. And, I'm very cautious when I watch these things now, So, when I first saw the trailer for Antebellum, which was supposed to come out in April, I had mixed feelings. Now, I knew I wanted to see it, but I didn't know how fast I was going to see it, how much of a rush I was going to be in see it, because I knew that it was going to have to do with slavery. So, if you don't know what Antebellum is, Antebellum is a 2020 American psychological horror thriller written and directed by Gerard and Christopher Renz in their feature directorial debut. And it stars Janelle Monáe, who's literally the reason why I wanted her, and Gabourey Sidibe, were the two reasons why I was like, I want to see this movie. Just for those women alone. They're phenomenal. I'm just like, I want to see black women shine. I'm with it. Let's do this. Let's watch it, So, the story is we follow Janelle Monáe, trying to escape for what appears to be a 19th century Southern slave plantation. Now, this is from Kiersey Entertainment. Kiersey Entertainment is also the same production company that produced, Us, Get Out. They got a couple films under their belt. But I wasn't sure if I was going to watch this movie or not. But I was like, I'm curious. I want to see what this is, I guess Lange want to have their own Get Out. So they're like, yo, give us one of your racist pictures. So they're like, all right, we got you. Now, it's written by Gerard and Christopher Renz. I don't know if those guys are black or white. I don't know. But, I was like, all right, I'm going to see what this is, So the story is about a successful author, Veronica Henley, who finds herself trapped in a horrifying reality, and that they claim in the credit, in the synopsis, that she's forced to confront the past, the present, and the future before it's too late. I'm going to tell you guys now. I'm not going to try to spoil this, but it ain't nothing about going to the past, nothing about the present or the future. It's just, how do I even tell this without spoiling? There's a twist in this movie that you may figure out by just watching the trailer alone. If not, then I don't want to spoil it for you. What I will say is, when I first was reading the reviews online about it, I didn't hear anything good. There was this one review, I forgot what the girl's name was, but the first thing she did was it was like, hey, the wardrobe is nice, the costume design is great, and I was like, oh boy, if you're gonna start off saying the wardrobe department did their job, how bad is this movie? That's the first thing you're going to acknowledge. I'm not gonna lie, the wardrobe was nice. They did a good job with their costumes in this one, but I was worried. After seeing movies like 12 Years a Slave or even the remake of Roots, that lately they've been going a little too much on too heavy on the brutality of race, not racism, but slavery. And that was my biggest fear coming into this, because it's like, slavery is horrible enough. Now to add it to a horror movie, how bad is it gonna be? And to give credit where credit is due, it is not as bad as I expected. The movie itself, not even just when it comes to the scenes of the brutality of slavery, the film itself, and as well as those scenes of slavery, is not as bad as I thought it was going to be. I expected 12 Years of Slavery worth of horror. I thought they was going to make some type of Saw, some Hostel style horror movie that set in slavery. Thank God it wasn't that. I don't know if I could have handled that. That's not what it is. It's not that at all. It's the twist. It's definitely, I guess, the thing that makes the story, and it's horrible that they edited it this way, where you figure out the twist later on in the story as the story goes on, and you go, oh wait, what's going on? I would have preferred if they did it a more linear way of telling the story. But it's not a very linear story. It starts off with her in slavery, and you're guessing, wondering, okay, what's going on? What year is this? Is this 19th century? This Janelle Monáe's, ancestor that we're watching right now. But, I gotta say, the film was written very well. It was directed very well. It was acted very well. It was a movie for all purposes of filmmaking and cinema. It was a film. It was everything you want from, not everything you want from a film. I'm not saying that. It's everything you expect from a film. It's a very Hollywood picture. Everything was shot perfectly, lit perfectly. The cast was perfect. So I'm gonna have to get some spoilers eventually. I'm gonna tell you when the spoilers are gonna start. I'm not gonna say it yet, but for all the purposes, it was a movie. All the boxes were checked off. It's not some random low budget movie. It's definitely, it felt like maybe an episode of The Twilight Zone, or Tales from the Dark Side, maybe, or even a Black Mirror, or so to speak. It's not what you think it's going to be. So, all right, let's get to the spoilers, people. Let's get to the spoilers. But before I get to spoilers, I will say, at first I wasn't going to see it because, one, they was charging $20 to rent it, and I'm just like, if I'm spending $20, I want to buy it, not rent. If I wanted to just see it one time, I'll just go to the theaters, but of course the theaters are closed, so that's not an option. So it makes sense to spend $20, because if you would have spent $20, you saw it in theaters anyway. But y'all know me, I have AMC stub lists or whatever, A-lists. My ass was paying $24 a month to see 3 movies a week, so, I'm like, y'all not telling me nothing. But I watched it, and I don't hate it. I don't love it, but I'm not, the film started off and I was just in anger watching the scenes of slavery. But then the story continues, when, at least 40 minutes into the movie, here comes the spoiler. Now we go to the modern day. You see, she's a successful book author. She's doing speeches. She's on TV. She's shutting down racist white men on TV, and everything's all good and dandy. And then she gets an interview on a computer, and we see that that's the same woman that we saw on the plantation 40 minutes ago. Before that point, and then I don't know about everybody else, but I know for me, I started going, wait, so that's the woman who put her in the plantation. So the question after that is just, how the hell did she end up on this plantation? Or why? Or when is this plantation? As the story continues, I don't know how fast everybody else caught on to it. But, after Janelle gets kidnapped and brought to slavery, we notice the guy that's raping her has a cell phone. So she didn't go back in time. She didn't time travel. This is modern day. They got a plantation somewhere in modern day, and they kidnapping black folks and bring them to this plantation. Now, I started realizing at this point, hold on, where is this plantation? How? Because they're not, if you look at the history, plantations are still around, but then, they're not slaves on there right now. But if you're like, it makes you start questioning, like, okay, where could this possibly be done if this is modern day? You can't just randomly bring people to a spot, a plantation that nobody know about, and then it hits me. Are they at a reenactment park? By the end of the fucking movie, she escaped, especially when she goes through the Civil War. By the time she gets through the Civil War, if you don't figure out that she's in a fucking reenactment part, you're not paying attention. Cause I'm watching it, I'm just like, holy shit. When she's going through the Civil War, the Confederate is fighting with who was the Confederate? I'm horrible at history. Who the fuck was, what? I gotta study fucking American history, because who was the Confederate fighting? I don't remember. I know that the Confederate lost, thank God, but basically these motherfuckers had kidnapped a bunch of black folks and brought them to a reenactment park and was reenacting slavery for real. They was killing black folks and enslaving black folks for real at a reenactment park. And I think that's where they fucked up. They made that the twist of the movie, thinking that was gonna make the movie like, oh my God, I can't believe it's a reenactment park the whole time. No. Y'all should have told the story linear and let us know it was a reenactment part, and then have to focus on them, of her trying to escape the reenactment part, and, the reenactment part, the park itself, they're just, they're doing the reenactments all day, and people don't know that there's real people being enslaved at this park. You know what I mean? I think this film, like, I've heard people saying this film did not live up to its expectations, or it didn't live up to, it's not perfect, but it could have done more. It definitely left so much stuff on the table. You know what I mean? Like, it didn't live up to its full potential. I've been hearing that a lot, and I agree. It did not live up to its full potential at all. It's not a horrible movie. It's not a bad movie. It was less damaging than I thought it was going to be, because I thought it was going to really mess with my psyche. It didn't. It's not black trauma porn, thank God. But, that twist, it was like, I didn't have to make that the twist. That could have just been the complication of the story, the plot. It could have been a proper twist if it wasn't a twist that they waited to show at the end of the movie, like the last 5 minutes of literally. They acknowledge that she's in a reenactment park until the last minute of the movie. Literally just maybe a minute before the credits starts to roll. You know what I mean? I think we should have known that from the beginning. Like, at least the movie should have started off in the beginning, modern day, lead up to the kidnap, have her try to figure out where she is, and then somewhere around that part, she'll realize she's in a reenactment part or whatever. You gotta get out of there. You know what I mean? So for that to be, that was the whole twist, and, that's how they end off the movie, I was just like, okay, what's going on here? I don't know, man. I really don't. Shout out to Janelle Monáe. Shout out to Gabourey Sidibe. Lovely ladies. Lovely jobs. Great job. I love them. The girls was looking fine. The script is fine. The direction was fine. The acting is fine. But it's just that twist, man. It was like, this movie could have been so much better. I don't hate it. Well, I tell you guys to spend $20 on that. If you was going to spend $20 anyway to see it in theaters, I would say go ahead and spend the $20. Because if you already had it in your mindset to go see it, cool. Now, if you were afraid of seeing some brutal image of slavery, it's not that. So if that's what the one thing that's holding you back from watching this movie, I can tell you now, that's not the issue at all. Now, if you listen to this whole podcast and you heard me mention the twist, then, you got nothing to lose at this point. You got nothing to lose. If you just want to be entertained and you want to see where things go, or you want to see how they executed it, since you already know how it's going to go based off of my spoiler, then check it out. But if you're just like, I can wait. Just wait. It's not something where it's going to have us talking about it for weeks, like Get Out or Us. Those movies definitely had us, rewatching it and try to figure things out and try to pick clues and look at symbolism and all that. You're not going to get this from here. That twist is the one-time only twist that is like, okay. They kidnapped black folks and put them in a reenactment park and made them relive slavery. Okay. Like, that's it. That's all you're going to get out of that twist. It's like, okay. And, like, that was like some M. Night Shyamalan dumbass twist type of twist, if you ask me. I would have enjoyed it better if we knew that maybe in the middle of the second act and the rest of the movie was her trying to get back to regular civilization to understand, or, get the people who's visiting the park to say, hey, I'm not a real slave. This is not a reenactment. They slaving us for real. Like, it's something. You know what I mean? It's just like, it was just, I don't know, man. So, like I said, guys, if you plan on seeing this movie, go check it out. If you're afraid of the slavery scenes, it's not that bad. I gave this movie maybe a 7 out of 10, maybe even 6 out of 10. And I'm only giving it a 6 is because of because like I said, the writing was great, the acting was great, the cinematography, the wardrobe, all that, everything, and all they checked all the boxes. It's just that dumbass twist that's just like, come on now, that's weak. Like, if you're gonna make that twist, let's ride with that twist for a minute. Don't just end the movie with that twist and be like, yep, that's all. She was in the reenactment park, y'all. But she made it. She's out the park now. Like, what? Are you fucking crazy? That's it? Nah. Nah, sir. Nah. But, like I said, I enjoyed it, kinda. I don't hate it. It takes a minute for you to really get into it. Especially when it starts off with all the slavery stuff, but after a while, it starts to intrigue you a little bit. You know what I mean? Unlike fucking Lovecraft Country, where I'm confused every fucking time I watch this shit. Like, I gotta watch it more than once to try to understand what the hell just went down. Like, this show has literally, I don't know if you guys been catching up with the show, but I think we're 5 episodes in, and so far, we've seen monsters attack people in sundown towns. We've seen haunted houses with dead spirits of black folk who was tortured by a racist white doctor. And we've seen, transsexuals, hiding not hiding, but basically cursed and living under, near buried treasure and all this stuff. And, we see shapeshifters that could basically shapeshifters where they could, change their skin, and a black woman could pretend to be a white woman for a day, and a white woman I'm about to spoil a whole bunch of stuff, so let me stop. It's just, it's just a lot. It's a lot, guys. And, I feel like this era of woke entertainment's not going anywhere anytime soon. And like I said, I'm as woke as the next person. But it's just like, Lord, man. Lord. It's just too much sometimes, y'all. Just too much. Am I going to keep watching Lovecraft Country? You goddamn right I'm going to keep watching Lovecraft Country. I'm just saying, can I be entertained with some fantasy and stuff without having to deal with the reality of slavery or racism? Or, you know what I mean? It's like, can I just enjoy, fiction? Can fiction just be fiction? Do we always gotta have to deal with the man all the goddamn time? Like, can't we just go to the future and just be a story about black folks going to the future, trying to get back to the past, go back to the future, or go to the, you know what I mean? It's just, I just want more of my entertainment where we don't have to deal with the crutch of racism at any point. But I guess, hey, that is the reality that we live in. That's the world that we live in. Racism exists. Racism exists. I get it. Cool. But, man, I just want to be entertained at this point. But definitely check out Antebellum if you're into a good psychological horror thriller movie. It's not as bad as I thought it will be. So if you're afraid for the like I said, my whole thing was I didn't want to watch no brutal slavery scenes. It's not there. Everything else is there. Enjoy if you do. If not, I guess good luck finding a new movie to watch soon. Until next time, much love, God bless, 2 Beats and Chick Grease. I'll see you later.